you're gonna learn, all right?
All right.
How about you act like you learned something?
Okay.
All right. We're gonna start it over. Take 2. Actually, take.
Sit down. Sit down.
No.
Sit. I'm gonna show you how to do this.
All right. You do the introduction.
All right, Camille. I'm gonna teach you about the LSATs. The LSATs are the law school admission tests.
So I'm going to teach you the general overview of the LSATs, the law school admissions test. You would take this test if you were interested in going to law school. You need it along with your GPA. Those are the only 2 things that law school looks at, along with like your general transcript and other things such as extracurriculars, but mostly the LSATs and the GPA. So it's critical that you get a good score on the LSATs. It's at a 120 to a 180 scale. The average test taker gets a 151. So most people, the first time they take it, they get like 140 to 150 range. Through this, by taking a class, you usually will only get 10 points or 10 points higher or 10 points lower, depending on how much you focus on learning how to get this test and perfecting its structure. So the LSATs are comprised of 5 different sections. You have the reading comprehension section, the logic games section, and the analytical reasoning.
So didn't you say 5?
Yes, I'll get to that.
Okay.
So you can take the writing section on your own. In the past, it was that you had to take it right after your test, but now it's offered online as soon as you get home from the test, and you can take it at your own discretion. So it doesn't even have to be the same day. It can be like months after, but you do want to get it out of the way so that you can have your applications ready. But so reading comp, there's only 1 section. Logic games, there's 1 section. And then analytical reasoning, there's 2, along with a section that they won't tell you what it is. So it's a variable section. It'll be one of these 3, but you won't know until you take the test. So that's why the analytical reasoning section is one of the most important, because you could potentially be taking it 3 times. The important part, though, is that you'll only be scored on 4 of the sections, but you have to take 5. The 5th one, which is the extra section, is just for the LSAC's personal testing. So they're just trying to figure out how to better the test for next year. It's not going to affect your score whatsoever.
Okay.
So for analytical reasoning questions, you're going to have the question itself. Question. And you're going to have a small prompt in the form of a paragraph, along with 5 possible answers. So which order do you think that you would read these in? As soon as you get this question on the test, where do you start?
Probably read the answers first.
And then?
Then probably the question.
So would you say
Maybe I'd read the question, then the answer, then the prompt.
The question, the answers, then the prompt?
Probably.
So you would say 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, but I don't know enough, but it could be possible that you might know the answer before even reading the question. But I could be wrong.
So they recommend that you start with the question, and then you go to the prompt. This is basically going against anything most people say. And then you go to the questions. The answers. So the reason for that is because by reading the question first, you already know what you're going to look for. Every question there's like 4 different question families, and so most of the questions are going to look the same, and you're going to practice these different types of questions while you're doing like LSAT studying. And so you know what you're looking for when you see the question, and then you read the prompt, and by that time you should know what the answer already is. So you're looking for what you think the answer is going to be
I see.
within the answer. So that's why you would go in this order.
Is there usually a subject for these kinds of questions, or is it?
What do you mean?
Well, are they usually law-based?
No.
Interesting.
They're not law-based at all. They're usually very random.
So it's really just testing, well, I guess analytical reasoning. Never mind.
Yes. The three types of questions that you're going to see are in the analytical reasoning section are characterization questions, operation questions, and implication questions. So for this section, you would have a characterization family, an operation family, and an implication family. These are the three different types of questions that you would see in the analytical reasoning section. So for the implication family, those are going to be questions like could be true. So if you see a prompt and they're asking you to read the stimulus, and then they ask which of these answers could be true after reading what you've read in the prompt.
Okay.
And then in the operation family, it's which would help or disprove. So it's like you're reading this person's argument. Sometimes in these prompts, it's like someone's arguing something, and so they'll ask in the question which of these answers would either strengthen or weaken this person's argument. Okay. So that's another question that you'll see. And then the last one, characterization, what's the main point? So it'll essentially ask you to summarize the prompt that you just read to the best of its ability. And they'll try to trick you with this, so it'll be like one of the answers will be maybe a certain section of the prompt that you just read, and then another might feel very a vague generalization. You're going to want to pick the one that most encapsulates the entire prompt rather than just a certain section, because the question is asking you for the main point. One of the biggest things that you're going to see in a stimulus is like a story that's going to try to throw you off. So like you could have an argument saying that corgis are vicious creatures. It doesn't need to be true. It's just testing to see if you are taking this argument and are able to interpret it. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the correct spelling of vicious.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. One of the biggest parts of the analytical reasoning section is understanding the contrapositive, which is essentially taking a statement and being able to understand what it means when you switch and negate it. So the biggest thing to remember in this is switch and negate. So an example of this would be to travel outside of the US, you need a passport. So then you're looking at, like if it's an if-then question, if I want to travel to outside of the US, then I would need a passport. Then A equals B, US, go out, passport. And so the contrapositive of this would be to switch and then negate it. So if you don't have a passport, then you cannot leave the US.
Right.
But you can't switch it and be like, if I have a passport, then I can leave the US. Because that's not what the sentence is saying.
Right.
Some examples that I want you to try on your own. Try, everyone who wins the lottery is rich.
If you don't win the lottery, you're not rich.
You're so good. Do you have any questions on the contrapositive?
You know any more examples? I'm having a great time. What happens if I don't do well?
And you fail.
Okay.
And you will never be a lawyer.
And you will never be a lawyer.
Here I have a test about the contrapositive. You have 40 minutes to complete the entire thing. And good luck.
I don't have 40 minutes.
We're gonna film all 40 minutes of you taking this
Alright,
test.
fine. Okay.
Great job, Matt.
Yeah, thanks.
And scene!